What a wonderful sleep. The soul Om Nilambujasyyamal Komalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, is carrying powerful bow and arrow in his hands. Shri Ramcharitmanas, Ayodhya Kanda, and we are moving towards the verse number 47. Here is a very pathetic picture. King Dasharatha is grief-stricken, and Kaikeyi continues to hold on to her two wounds. सत्य कहीं कवि नारी सुभाऊ, सब विधि अगहु अगाध दुराऊ, निज प्रतिबिंब बरुकु कही जाई, जानी न जाई नारी गति भाई. It's a lot of scolding for women. All troubles, they are pointed to women. They must realize masses get deluded by this statement, nothing to do with women. All souls that are gripped by threefold illusion, seer, seen and sight. If you dream, there are threefold illusions. The dream subject, you are there doing so many things, enjoying so many things, but you are not yourself. You are the one sleeping in the bed. So it's completely wrong. And the world in which you are enjoying all that, that world doesn't exist. How can that be there in your little bed? And all the pleasure and pain that we end up experiencing, they are based on all illusions. So, but is there anyone who doesn't get caught by those three? That's Triya Charitram. Relative consciousness is the result of Triya Charitram, threefold illusion. Poets speak truly that the nature of Stri is difficult to understand. It's unfathomable and extremely mysterious. काहन पावकु जारी सक कान समुद्र समाई, कान करे अबला प्रबल कही जग कालु न खाई. What is there which cannot be burnt up by fire? What is there which cannot be drowned in the ocean? And what is there which a woman cannot accomplish? Who is described as abala, without strength, tender women, not having to have much strength. But what's there she can't do. And who is there who is not eaten up by the time spirit? This is the description of a world trapped by ignorance. In this world, all attainments, all things are combustible. They will burn up. All things can be drowned. And all things are subject to death. And all things are afflicted by the grip of the triad, threefold illusion. Three. The wiles of women. Made the world wild. का सुनाई विधि काह सुनावा, का दिखाई चाह काह दिखावा. People around, they are talking to themselves and expressing their great despair at the news that Rama is going to be banished into the forest for 14 years. And they are saying, Vidhata, Brahma, what appeared to us that Rama is going to be the king? What could have been a greater, delightful news than that? And we were all expecting Rama to be declared as the heir apparent to the throne. And now, what has happened is totally frustrating, opposite. One of them says the king didn't do well. He didn't have patience to evaluate what Kaikeyi was asking or what Kaikeyi was planning to get from him. Durbuddhi, bad intellect, Kaikeyi. A subtle point you have to understand. The role of Kaikeyi is profoundly good for the soul. The role of Kaikeyi is not negative. But that's the mystery of life. Sometimes situations present to allow you to evolve in a spiritual way. But the presentation of the situation at times is shocking. But while you are facing a shocking state, at that time it is difficult to understand that it is not really negative. For a very easy way to understand, children as they grow, each time they begin to fall down and really fall down. Their limbs are adjusting, learning lesson how to straighten the nerves, how to control the muscles, etc., etc. So, if children were just placed in a situation where they don't have to walk at all, what will happen to them? But when they are placed in a natural way to grow, they are allowed to experience what seems like accidents. I'm not talking about negative accidents, but simple little falling, standing, stammering. And behind that, there is a purpose. Similarly, life cannot be easy according to the ego's expectation. If that is so, you will become like that, the fairy tale child that has no problems. But that child will not grow up. Now, all the description is being given is from the point of view of mass mentality, where masses view life successful, happy, according to certain concepts of their mind. If a person stays on and stays with bonded with relatives and continues to do certain type of business or continues to remain in a certain bonded relationship, people consider this success. But real success does not depend upon that. Real success depends upon, are you fulfilling the purpose of your life? Are you growing? Are you following the Uttarayana? Are you developing Vairagya? Or are you developing the mind, may I come back into the world again and again, endless? If purpose of life is not being fulfilled, then even what seems to be very prosperous, joyous developments, you win a big lottery, it's a joyous development. What seems to be. But once you have won the lottery, you are not the same person. Same implying you don't have the same peace. Even you look at your close relatives, why are they coming? They are coming to get a share of my lottery. So, you have to add up all that to evaluate, is that good for the person? जो हठि भयउ सकल दुख भाजनु अबला विवश ज्ञान गुण जागुनु गाजनु एक धर्म परमिति पहचाने निपहि दोषु नहीं देहि सयाने. And so this is the public opinion. Some of them are saying, by being so true to his words, King Dasharatha has brought all calamity on himself. In other words, he said, asked for the two boons, and when he knew those boons were terrible. He was as if planning for a calamity. All that he should have done, I'm not going to give you. Move away. It's public opinion. Opinions are just in all ages, people have their own opinions. There are others who say, no, the king is so devoted to truth. So once he has made a statement, he will not go back from it, even if he were to give up his life. Sividadhichi Harichanda Kahani, Eka San Kahi Bakhani. Those who are maturer ones, they are justifying King Dasharatha, quoting that it is not only Dasharatha, but in his tradition, in his family line, his great-great-great-grandfathers. Among them were Shivi, whose story I have touched before, Dadhichi and Harishchandra. Just to remind you, very brief, in the storyline, Shivi is a great king, and his charity became very famous. Gods began to test him, whether his charity was perfect or not. Fire god and Indra both took up the task of testing Shivi. Fire god took the form of a beautiful dove. Indra took the form of a hawk. First, the dove appears before the king, saying, "O king, save me, save me. I've taken refuge in you." King said, "Don't be afraid. I have given refuge to you." By the time the king completes his statement, hawk comes in. And hawk says, "I'm hungry, and you have no right to take away my food from me. You have to compensate for it." The king says, "Ask anything. He can give you any type of food." He said, "No, I want your meat." And in the storyline, king places the dove. First there is a weighing scale. There are two areas. On one side, he chops off his limb, big limbs. And on the other side, he keeps the pigeon, the dove. And somehow, no matter how much he cuts out and places it, the dove it doesn't match up with the dove. So it comes a time when he had to place his whole body into it. Right at that time, the illusion breaks. The dove becomes fire god, and hawk becomes Indra. And they say, "O king, you have passed the examination." What's the subtle meaning behind it? Fire god is vairagya, dispassion. Indra is bhoga, enjoyment. So, facing these two challenges of vairagya and bhoga, what's the cure? lead your mind to understand I am not the body. Dehalo dehaku. Give up your body. Sacrifice it. In a storyline, he goes on chopping. In real philosophy line, you go on understanding. I'm not the feet, so you have chopped your feet away. I'm not the hands, you have chopped your hands away. I'm not the nose, I'm not the ears, I'm not the eyes. And in spite of all that, you don't match up with the need of vairagya unless you chop up the entire concept. I am the body. So that subtle point goes behind that story. People just learn the story and go on repeating it. If you take it literally, who could be more stupid? For a king who is protecting the whole country to give away his body to a little hawk. But you must realize all these stories are parables, profound stories with subtle meaning. Next story is told about the Dhichi. A terrible demon could not be killed unless Indra were to make thunderbolt, a weapon out of the Dhichi's bones. And that subtle meaning behind it, the Dhichi is a spiritual aspirant, is highly advanced in the practice of ahimsa, non-violence. Any spiritual aspirant who is very profoundly interested in spirituality becomes the Dhichi. And the bones of the Dhichi, the bones of your sadhana is ahimsa, non-violence. In a storyline, the statement that his bones are that power that can remove ignorance. That's the statement. In a storyline, he has to give his bones. And Indra has to make a thunderbolt out of it. And cut down the demon. And all that drama goes on. Another personality in the solar race called Harishchandra. Harishchandra was tested by gods, especially by Sage Vishwamitra. And in order to give dakshina to Vishwamitra, Harishchandra had to sell himself and his family to get sufficient dakshinas. First, he gave away the entire kingdom without knowing what Vishwamitra was asking. But when he asked, he said, I will give. And Vishwamitra asked, give me your kingdom. And he gave away the kingdom. But now Vishwamitra says, you have to now complete your gift by giving a dakshina, a fee. You don't give that your act of gift has not been successful. So for doing that, Harishchandra had to sell himself, etc. and go through a terrible story. So I'm not going into the big story. In that, he sees his own son dead, brought into cremation ground. He is manager of the cremation ground in that storyline. So even though he is dealing with the dead body of his own son, being true to his own character, he asks his wife to give fee for it. Every cremation ground had what kind of business, you see. And he stays firm with his duty to his master. And in that setting, when he is ready to do the maximum, allow his wife to do maximum sacrifice, at that time all the gods appear. And they say to Harishchandra, that was there. They gave him a test. But behind that, all the test is, examination is, your ability to give up moha, deluded concept of relationships. Harishchandra was able to do so in a profound way. Those insights that you gain from those mystic stories, they are all present also in Dasharatha. He also belongs to the same solar line. And to be more well informed, every aspirant belongs to the solar line. Because the path you follow is called Uttarayana, northern path. A path that leads the soul to the sun. Sun is here, absolute self. And first stage in that path is fire, means vairagya, dispassion. Second stage, viveka, discriminative knowledge. Third stage, living your daily life with integral yoga. Sanskrit was aha, not oh. Not grieving, but kind of joyous. When we describe all that, don't take it literally. Life cannot be just joyous. Challenging situations will be there. But what's needed in you to have patience and faith, not to be shaken by them. And then if you have that, then having passed through a challenging situation, now you say with bigger mouth. So that's called Uttarayana path. And that opens up in mystical description, opens up to the waxing moon in the sky. Your heart itself becomes the sky. And your feeling of love waxes, goes on growing more and more, until the soul has become absolute fulfillment, becoming one with the revelation, I am the Sun, I am Brahman. And this whole process applies to every aspirant. Any aspirant, true aspirant, becomes Suryavanshi. Suryavanshi as well as Chandravanshi. Suryavanshi is Rama. Chandravanshi is Krishna. The first line of Uttarayana is Suryavanshi, describing the sun. Second line of the same northern path, after you have concluded vairagya, dispassion, discrimination, and made your life aha. Now your heart comes back to Chandravansh. Now you are joined with the moon. Now this moon is not the moon that exists by illumined by the sun. This moon here means absolute ananda, bliss. Therefore, great personalities, even Rama himself is described as Ramachandra. Rama is solar and Chandra just supplements. So now the people have all these talks going on. Just like you see something happens in the politics and all people engaged. Different people with different views. एक भरत कर सम्मत कहाहीं, एक उदास भाय सुनि रहीं. Some of them say Bharata must have plotted this, Rama's brother. Another set of people say, no, it's not possible. Those people who know Bharata better, they are reacting in a different way. कान मुँह दिकर रद गही जीहा, एक कहीं यह बात अलीहा. The moment someone says Bharata is involved in it, the village reaction, they put their hands in the ears. They don't want to listen to this. And puts their mouth tight. Both set of teeth go over the tongue. That means I'm not agreeing with you. And they end up saying, what you are saying is false. If you say so, all your good karmas will be destroyed. Bharata loves Rama more than his very life. Chandu chaupai baru analakan, sudha hoi vishatul. सपने हूँ कबहु न करहीं किछु, भरतु राम प्रतिकूल. Now, very advanced, profound statement comes through in the words of people who love Bharata. What it says, moon may suddenly spill out burning embers of fire, which is not possible. Nectar may turn into poison, but Bharata, even in his dream, will never hurt Rama. This is a relationship between bhakti and jnana. Bharata is bhakti. Devotion will never go against jnana. But immature people go on fighting. All that you have to do is just be devoted to God. Forget about the snake on the rope. Forget about neti. But not so. Both are profoundly related to each other. More purified feeling, greater is your subtle understanding. More clear understanding, greater is your divine feeling. Both go together. Bhakti and jnana. एक विधा तहि दूषण देहि, सुधा देखाई दीन विसुजेहि. Another just blames the Creator. The Creator was showing nectar, but by the time you go to receive the nectar from his hands, nectar has turned into poison. So what he shows turns to be totally different. In other words, Creator had created that expectation that Rama is going to be the king, Ayodhya will be wonderful. And now, suddenly, the whole scene changed. Same Creator had planned a totally different setting. खर भरु नगर सोच सब काहू, दुसह दाहू उर बिठा उछाहू. And in the heart of masses, this terrible jalan, like fire, has entered the heart. All their joy and joyous expectation has faded away. Whole city, there is karabharu in a whole city. Karabharu ho gaya. But what does karabhara mean? Kara means donkey. Think of a place that was so beautiful with the horses and elephants and the modern style, lot of royal cars and all types of things. And then instead, you find lots of donkeys. That's again allegorical. विप्रबधु कुलमान्य जठेरी, ये प्रिय परम कैकेयी केरी. Elderly women, wives of Brahmins, and very close friends of Kaikeyi, they all came together to persuade Kaikeyi to turn away from her boons. First they praised her, how wonderful you are. How wonderfully you have loved Rama and all brothers, and how king loves you, etc., etc. You have wonderful qualities. And therefore, why are you spoiling all the good things that you have done by insisting on these two boons? But Kaikeyi doesn't delight in these words. These words are coming like as if hitting her heart with an arrow. Bharatun mohi priya ram samayana, sada kahau yau sab jagu jana. You have always said that Rama is even more loved by me than my own son Bharata. Everybody knows that. Karhu Ram par sahaj sanehu, kahin aparadh aju ban devu. You have such spontaneous love for Rama For what reason? What harm has Rama done to you that you are sending him to the forest? Subtle point is a kind of a riddle. That's the way it appears. And that's the way people listen to Ramayana, always blaming Kaikeyi for all the trouble. But the reality is totally different. It's a type of love that is not gripped by moha. Moha language is that whether Rama has accomplished his mission or not, he should become the king. Where the four brothers have done their, four brothers are four yogas, four aspects of yoga. If those aspects have not become integrated, in a state of disintegration, to allow perfect satisfaction to occur, that will not be possible. Kaikeyi has kept that in view. Therefore, sometimes loving act appears like cruelty. I give you gross illustration. If you have some tumor growing in your body and a loving relative takes you to the doctor and a loving surgeon sharpens his knife, I'm joking. But behind all that, there is real love. On the other hand, if love says, oh no, don't touch, let him be untouched by knives, untouched by anything. Don't subject this person to anything. That's called moha. Put another simple simile. You have a child, and child is growing, is very loving child. Now there comes a time you have to deal with moha. Not to hold him back, but let him go to school. And when you do that, you have to sacrifice the feeling of your coziness, the feeling of lovely set, and so forth. कबहु न कियहु सबति आरेसु प्रीति प्रतीति जान सब देशु. And they are all scolding Kaikeyi that you never showed jealousy towards co-wives. And now you are showing it. All the kingdom knows how wonderful you have been. Kausalya ab kaha bigara, tum jehi lagi bajrapur para. What harm did Kausalya do to you? And for what reason did you, as if, bring down a hailstorm over this entire city? It's just a poetic language. Siye ke piya sang parihari hain, लखन के रहे हैं धाम, राजू के भू जब भरतपुर, नृप कीजिए ही बिनु राम. Have you thought of the consequences? If Rama goes, can Sita stay back? Can Rama go without Lakshmana? Can Bharata peacefully rule over Ayodhya? Can king stay alive? All this again you have to understand now from a broader point of view. If Rama goes to the forest, the Rama movement is more ideally perfect when Rama goes with Sita and Lakshmana. Rama is soul, Sita is viveka buddhi, intuitive intellect. Lakshmana is power of will. This whole set, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, is the most powerful set to combat against Ravana and ignorance and its forces. And can Bharata feel happy? No. That's correct. Bharata didn't feel happy. Rama went, but Bharata himself did not stay in Ayodhya. He found a place nearby and lived like a sannyasi. In other words, devotion continues to inspire wisdom. Wisdom in turn continues to inspire devotion. So Bharata plays the role of helping Rama and Rama helps Bharata. And can Dasharatha stay alive? Dasharatha is a jiva in a stage, in a lower stage. That stage must move away. Dasharatha will not be alive. So all that they are describing as a pathetic development is not pathetic. They are the needed characteristics of spiritual evolution. As bichari ur chadahu kohu shoka kalanka koti jani hohu. And they are saying, Kaikeyi, give up your anger. Do not become a storehouse of grief and kalank. Kalank is infamy. Let Rama live here in Ayodhya. If you are so insistent that Bharata should be king, let him be. But why to send Rama away into forest? All this language of moha. Nahin Ram Raj ke bhukhe param dhurin vishaya rasarukhe Guru griha basahun Ram taji gehu nipasana asabaru dusara lehu. Rama is not hungry for kingdom. He is very advanced in the practice of dharma. Worldly enjoyment cannot tempt him. He will stay in the house of his guru Vasishtha and let Bharata rule. So create a modification in your wounds. जो नहीं लगी हूँ कहें हमारे नहीं लागी कछु हाथ तुम्हारे. If you do not follow our advice, you are not going to gain anything. Which is again it's a statement. You have nothing to gain from the world. Nada existe. Nothing exists. जो परिहास कीन्ह कछु कोई तो कहीं प्रगट जनावहु सोई. If you have done just for teasing King Dasharatha. Say it. Turn this whole into the humor. That she simply lifted her fingers, didn't mean it. राम सरिस सुत कानन जोगु काह कहीं सुनी तुम कहूँ लोगु. If you send Rama into the forest, what will people say? What type of mother you are, what type of cruelty you are able to express. उठहु बेगी सोई करहु उपाई, यही विधि शोक कलंक नसाई. Be quick, get up, and do repair this situation so that you do not become subject to grief and ill fame. यही भांति शोक कलंक जाई उपाय, करिकुल पालही हठि फेरु राम ही जात बन, जनि बात दूसरी चालही. Do that by which you lift up the whole blanket of grief that is falling upon the whole Ayodhya, and also the ill fame, the negative defect that you are showing from your personality, that will become viral. Everybody will be talking all over. Stop that to happen. Let Rama turn back, not go to the forest. जिनु भानु बिनु दिनु प्राण बिनु जनु तनु छंद बिनु जिमि जामिनी, तिमि अवध तुलसी दास प्रभु बिनु समुझ धौं जिय भामिनी. Just as daily life, without sun, the day becomes dull. The body becomes dead without prana. And without moon, night becomes lifeless. In the same way, without Rama, Ayodhya will become a barren and lifeless, joyless. So Queen Kaikeyi understand this point. Sakhin sikhavan deen sunat madhur parin. Sakhin sikhavan deen sunat madhur parinam hit. Tein kachu kanan kin kutil prabodhi kubari. All the friends went on giving all this advice, which were very soft, sweet, and seemed to be very joyous. But Kaikeyi was so well trained by crooked, hunchbacked Manthara that she was not shaken at all. All those words didn't enter her ears. She didn't give attention to anyone of them. Subtle meaning, the mantra is prakriti. Nature has come to a state which will, just like when you are growing, nature makes the baby body into a little grown-up. When nature has done that, Now you can't shake it. You can't say to the baby, go 3 years back. Give me more cozy atmosphere. No. Once Prakriti has done that, and Prakriti is kubari, it's always a hunch. No matter how much you grow, you have to grow more. Prakriti is never satisfied. It continues to promote until the soul attains liberation. So with this I will conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramayana. Hari Om.